Raquel Porter with Balloon Splendor here. Today I am going to create a building block out of the pot of gold that Sandy and I created for our DIY book. So I have the picture on the screen, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to build is the pot itself. So we're going to go up here and we're going to select some circles. And we're going to go ahead and do it to the same scale as the actual picture itself. So why would I want to work that hard at it? Well, if the scale is important, let's say you had created something for a client at one time and you didn't write down your recipe, and they said they wanted it exactly the same, or maybe it was being installed in a very specific place, then being able to recreate it digitally would be important. Okay, so I've just colored that in. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the little circles down here. That's pretty close. So one, copy, paste, paste. So I was thinking the other day, on one of the videos I had done, I had shown how you can go into some of the different highlighting and textures and things to give the balloon a little more of a 3D effect. Yeah, either a 3D effect or to give it some depth. Well, another way that you can do it too would be if I called up MSR again, our lovely MSR, and went to, let me get that back into the screen a little bit better so you can see it, and went to the 36-inch black balloon. We can just use copy, paste, get rid of the background. How wide is that? 1.44 inches. Okay, I'm going to do it's locked. Okay. We can just do that instead. And that gives it a little dimension. I'm going to get rid of the one behind it. Okay, so if you really wanted to work at it, you could actually use pictures of real balloons for your entire drawing. I'm going to send that back. So you could work that hard. In one of the videos I showed how you can crop a teardrop shaped balloon, a Qualitex shaped balloon for the circle if they didn't already come in a 36-inch round. That's a real easy way to just get the 36-inch round. Okay, moving on. So there's another way to do it. Okay, so now we got to get this band up here. So let's take a look at our tools and see what we got. Let's see. We've got this one I think I've used before. That one's all right. And let's see what other tools we have. We could just do a regular oval. And I don't like that. That's probably not, the ends on that are a little flat. Let's see. I got this other flowchart one. That's kind of square. I like this one here. So let's go ahead and size that. Oh, pretty close. All right, there we go. And so when I'm building these, I know, well, because I built that, I know that when we took that 350Q, it was actually sitting, let me clear that again. It was actually sitting pretty low on the balloon. So it was creating almost, the top of the 350 was almost to the top of the round balloon. Okay, so I'm going to pause from building this for a minute here, and I'm going to give you some other tips. I'm going to go ahead and put in my text box here real quick. put the border around it because that's how I roll. Make the letters a little bit bigger because I'm getting old. And I'm going to go ahead and write up the recipe. So some of the things I want to tell myself about this picture is the size of the quads on the bottom. So I'm going to tell myself starting from the bottom, because that's how we build things. We start from the bottom. If you see me being inconsistent in how I make notes, I'm doing that on purpose. I'm showing you different ways of documenting your recipes and your work so that you can find a system that works best for you. All right, starting at the bottom, I'm going to say these are 11-inch at, what do we do them at? I think we did them at like 5 inches maybe. They might have been at 6 inches. Yeah, I think they were at 6 inches. Okay, with a 1 cup sand weight. So right there, if I'm doing if I'm costing it out, I know that I need to include a sand weight or a water weight if you prefer to work with water. I know I've got 4 11-inch balloons. And a 3-foot size to 30 inches, I think is what we did. And then I did a 350 loop attached. How would I describe that so I know where I put it? Attached. Okay, I think instead of saying attaching it like low or something, I'm going to say, I think it was about 12 inches. 12 inches around, 12 inches in diameter. Okay. All right, here's another little tiny tip. You're noticing that when I hit my enter key, if I just hit enter, it's going to give it a little bit of a space, right? They're paragraph spaces. To change that, oh, I deleted too much of that. Okay. You can hit the not control enter, it's the shift enter key. Oh, you got to be in the square. You got to hit shift enter, and that will give you a carriage return without starting a new paragraph. So I do the shift enter quite a bit. Like when you're texting in messaging in Facebook, or you're putting a really long soliloquy in Facebook, if you do a shift enter, that'll give you your paragraph breaks instead of replying if you've got your settings that way. All right. Where was I? Okay. So we got the 350 loop. Okay, so here's another benefit too. If you're using a precision air, I would actually put what these are. Like this would be a 0.6, 30 inches round. I wouldn't use my precision air for that. This might be, I think it's like a 1.0 or something to give me probably a little bit longer than that, about a 1.5. So as I am making my notes, I would go ahead and be typing out my recipe. And the additional benefit of that too is, as you're thinking about that, if you were so inclined, for your labor estimates, you could say, okay, how long does it take for me to make a quad and a sand weight? I can knock that out in 2 minutes. How long does it take for me to inflate a 30-inch balloon and tie it off? Well, I can probably do that in 1 minute. I don't know, I'm just throwing these numbers out. To do the loop around, maybe that's another minute. Okay, and so now I'm going to do the gold balloons. So we're going to draw a circle of little tiny gold balloons. And we're going to do a fill. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go ahead and keep the line color black, but I'm going to make it a lot thinner. There we go. And we're going to change this so it's actually round. And we're going to do, yes, the lock aspect ratio. Okay, and I think we had like 36 balloons inflated. and we made them into sets of 5. And I think for purposes of the drawing, I don't think we need to be that persnickety about it, but we could be. Okay, I'm going to group that together. And how are we looking? The ones I made are a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go ahead and reselect that, and I'm going to lock it together and lock my aspect ratio, and I'm going to go ahead and just shrink that up just a touch, because I really want to show you that you can get pretty darn close to pictures. Okay, so we've got one there, and I'm going to send that, send it back. So we got one, two, about 3 of them across the front, right? And this one about there. And I'm going to go ahead and rotate that a little bit so I can so you can see how that's done. Okay, so that way you're not just putting a bunch of static balloons across there. You can actually turn them a little bit. And it looked like we had stacked a few more up on top, like that, and we're going to go ahead and rotate them. That's another way to rotate them. Okay, so we got a pot of gold. So now let's look at doing the little shamrocks. So I know the heart shape in here isn't very balloony looking, so I don't want to use that. So instead I'm going to go to MSR again. I think I closed my window over here. And we're just going to go ahead and pull up a green heart-shaped balloon. So we're going to go with green heart latex. There it is. I'm going to click on it, pull it out, right-click, copy, and make that go away, and right-click, paste. And we're going to make the background go away. And we're going to go ahead and make it much smaller. Okay. Now I think these were standard green. I think I might have pulled up an emerald green, but I think that's okay. Alright, so we're going to go copy, and we're going to paste it 3 more times. And I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this a little bit, so I'm not straining to see how I'm lining these up. So I know I can flip one around like that. Do these flip at 90 degrees? Oh, look at that. You can just flip them right around instead of trying to rotate them manually. We've got 90s and 180s and mirrors right up there automatically. Okay, so there it is, pulling them in a little bit tight. So now I know I have it's going to actually be 8 total. 8 6-inch green hearts, and let me go ahead and put the little twist in here. Let me zoom that in again. Little tiny. Do a sample fill color. Make my line really thin. That's pretty close. Hers is a little bit bigger there. I'm going to make that line a little bit dark, or yeah, a little thicker. Okay, and then we had a 260. So we did the, so it's going to come out of here. And I think I showed you this in another video, in the tulip columns video. But there it is again. I used the curve, and every time I clicked, it creates a point that I can later edit. So if I didn't like how that curved, I can click on it, right click, and I can edit the points, and everywhere you see these little squares, you can grab it and move it. You know, you can change the angles a little bit, you can change the curves a little bit. You can play with it until you're happy. And I'm going to send this back because the 260 is in the back. Then I'm going to go ahead and select the stem. I'm going to hold my shift key down. I'm going to select all my hearts. That's another way to do it. To select all your items, or you can draw the square around them like I have in the past. I'm going to group them together, and we're going to go over to the lock aspect ratio, and we're going to shrink this down a little bit. Okay. Actually, I don't think I should have shrunk it down because we had measured the hearts to the one that she used. Okay, that's all right. Let's zoom this out a little bit again. Okay, so we've got 8 green hearts. For me to actually build that, I can probably inflate all of them in under a minute, twist them together, twist. I'm going to call it 3 minutes. Actually, that goes over here. And on my precision air, I think I can inflate the hearts with I think that's also 6 inches. So how is that? The precision air has a little flow restrictor that you can put on there for smaller balloons. So even though these are set to the same size, because of the flow restrictor, I'm going to call this labor, it actually puts less air into it. I didn't do my shift enter. And then 260 Qs. I don't do a PA setting on that. And I already have the labor in there, the 3 minutes to make these each. I mean, I can crank them out pretty fast. But if you take longer, then put your labor in there too. I mean, this isn't about winning speed contests or anything. I've been doing balloons for 20 years and I can knock it out pretty good. So there you go. So let's estimate the gold. So we've got 5-inch gold, and I think my PA setting on these was 3, maybe it was 4. And how many did we use? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. I'm going to put down 35 because remember we're only looking at one face of it. We got to put them in all the way around. So let's call that 35. And for me to inflate 35 sets of 5, I'm going to call that 4 minutes. All right. So we've got that, and I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm going to ungroup that for a moment, and I'm going to flip that around. How do I want it to flip it around? I think I'm just going to do a free rotate on it. Actually, I'm going to do a mirror, and then I'm going to do the free rotate. Because she had it actually tucked in here. I want to get rid of the rotate. I'm just going to shrink that up a little bit. Alright. Okay, so there's one, and I'm going to go ahead and capture those, copy, paste. I'm going to do my shift and my right arrow to pull that away. We're going to group that, and what I'm going to do to give it just a little bit of a perception is I'm going to just squish it a little bit. Okay? And we're going to put that down here, and we're going to capture the stem, copy, paste, shift, and if you'll notice, this curve is quite a bit more. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can actually see what I'm doing. I'm going to edit my points, and I'm going to give it a little more of a curve. Pretty slick. I have to say, creating these videos has been really good for me because I've learned quite a bit more about Publisher. Okay, and we're going to flip this like that, because what I want is that curve to show up. Let's see. I'm going to pull this away a little bit more. We're going to send it back. I'm going to pull this out just a tad more. Okay, I need to select that and pull it down some more. Change the shape a little bit. Okay, I like that. Okay, look at that. Pretty good, huh? Pretty close. Okay. So what have we done here? We have recreated it digitally. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and I'm going to group it, and I can now right click and I can save it as a building block, and I can call it a pot of gold colored in. I can actually come up here. What, wrong one. I can, oh, look at what I did. Control Z when you hit the wrong thing, and I can color the whole thing white. So what's interesting here, what happened here is because I used balloons to fill it in instead of drawings, it's not going to color it white. Okay? So I completely forgot I had done that. So we're going to go ahead and Control Z and put it back. So if I actually wanted to create a line drawing that I could color in differently, I would have to draw each of these hearts and do everything else. So I do have a video on, which video is it, where I took something and drew it. If I remember, I'll put it in the comments. So if it's important that you can change your colors, that's how you would do it. I think for the pot of gold, these are pretty standard colors here. But if you're watching all my videos, you know how to change it up. So, okay, so we've created this, we've saved it as a building block, so we can just call it up again and create a scene with it or scale it up or down a little bit. I have my list of inventory here. I have my PA settings, and I have my labor. Okay, so about the only other thing really in here that I don't have in here is, why is that not going down for me? That's interesting. I've got something locked and I don't know what I locked. Why isn't it control entering? Okay, there it goes. The only other inventory I think I have in here are the U-glue tabs. And it's an Oasis product. It's an adhesive. They're a little pricey, but I really like them. Once you've committed it, it's committed though. If you don't have U-glue tabs or don't have resources to floral supplies, you can use glue dots, you can use rubber cement. If you use rubber cement, use it sparingly, or you can just use packing tape, just fold it over. You want to use a high quality packing tape, like a 3M heavy duty packing tape. You can just fold it over and use that also. But I think a lot of us in the industry use U-glue tabs or glue dots or rubber cement. So there you go, the pot of gold, taking a design and creating it digitally. I'm Raquel Porter with Balloon Splendor. If you like my videos, do consider supporting my channel. Please subscribe, or you can also donate. All of my building blocks are also available for sale if you don't want to go through the time of building them. Just contact me and we can talk about it. Raquel Porter with Balloon Splendor.